I don't know about y'all, but I'm hyped about this season. I think this might be the best season in like 3 years. So stay tuned. We about to get into it.
Which team, by colors alone, is identifiable around the world?
The autumn wind is a raider.
Which team, by slogan, commitment to excellence,
Pillaging just for fun.
just win, baby?
He'll knock you round,
All those things
then upside down,
are the Raiders.
and laugh when he's conquered and won.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win.
He's blown up. Raiders!
Just win, baby.
Yo, 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 yo. The Raiders are going to win a Super Bowl if they keep this up. They're going to win a Super Bowl if they keep this up. Man, I'm so excited. I'm so juiced right now. I think we got the best GM since McKenzie. We got the best coach since John Madden, the best minority owner in the NFL history. And can Mark Davis do what his father could not do? Get out of his own way, get a new stadium, and win a Super Bowl in the new modern football era. Pizzle, Washington.
How you doing?
Pizzle, my nizzle. What's good, brother?
Extremely excited.
Yeah, man. So we're gonna talk about, is this the culture shift that we needed? You know what I'm saying? A great visionary once said, you get a great coach, and after you get a great coach, you get great players, then you have a great organization. And then you tell them one thing: just win, baby. So Al Davis said that, the great Al Davis said that, and it rings to be true, and it looks like we're headed in that direction. Make sure y'all hit and like this video and subscribe, because this is a one-part series of 3. We're going to talk about, I always say, you win championships from the top down, not the player up. So today we're going to talk about the top part. We're going to discuss Mark Davis, our minority owner, Tom Brady, and we're going to talk about our boy, the spy hunter, Spy Tech. And then in part 2, we're going to talk about Kubiak, his coaches, and then we're going to talk about the offense and the defense. And then we're going to talk about the quarterbacks with Kubiak and his coaches. So that's a 3-part series, so I hope you guys hack in for that. But is this the culture shift that we need? How do we get there?
Well, we've gotten there by a bunch of failures. That's how we've gotten here. We tried to get the culture shift right. We did back in 2020 or whatever with John Gruden, but then he got fired or had to get released or whatever, however you want to put it. Well, since then we've been a coach in quarterback turmoil. Carr left with McDaniels. McDaniels did a crappy job. And then we brought in AP, did a decent job, but we didn't get him what he needed to win. Can't blame it all on him. I got to blame that on, like he said, the head, right? The head leads everything. If you don't have a good front office, we're not, the rest of everything else is in turmoil. And that's where we've been. Mark Davis hasn't been able to get out of his own damn way. And that's part of the problem, right? He wanted to keep his nose in the business that he knows nothing about. He needs to go over there and stay with the Aces and shit. He knows about that female basketball team stuff. But he don't know about no Raider football stuff. I don't know how you have the greatest, one of the greatest football minds of all time, and either you just didn't want to learn from him and you didn't care, or you're just not interested in football. I mean, I just don't get it. Like, you see Jerry Jones's kid, you see all the other kids, they all can't wait for their old man to get out of the way so they can get in there and start winning. But not Mark. He can't wait to go over there and sign a female basketball team up and go win with that shit. Like, you can't make this shit up. And so, in my opinion, yeah, we definitely moved the culture to where we want to go. We got a great coach. We tried to land a great coach last year, but we didn't have what it took on the team to make it attractive enough for any of these good coaches to come here. So finally, we were in a position to be attractive enough to actually wrangle in the best coach of the off season, right? Got the best hiring of the best coach of the off season. Like, how you can't? That's a win within itself. Let me just tell you that right now. If they would have done nothing else but that, it's still a win, right? Because we need that fresh young mind from a winning tree. We haven't had that since John Gruden, right? And John Gruden, pretty much, he's not from the Shanahan tree, but he's from the Bill Walsh tree. What's cracking? We the people. So it all kind of stems from that same idea, right? Because his dad comes from the kind of the Bill Walsh tree with Shanahan and all of them. So he's all on the same staff with Gruden. And I think that it's definitely a step in the right direction. I think he's bringing in the no nonsense stuff that we need, and you're either going to get on board or you're going to hit the road. And I think that's the way it's got to be. I think a lot of coaches try to play to the players, but at the same time, you can't always do that. You can't let the players run the team, just like you can't let the insanees run the asylum.
Right. And we're going to start with the owner, Mark Davis. Mark Davis, he gets a bad rap. We started off right where I was intending with his bad rap. And some of the things that I noted was he couldn't keep the Raiders in Oakland. That was one of the things that hurt this franchise, in my opinion. And we're going to talk about the bad rap that he gets. And then we're going to talk about the good things that he possibly doing and that he is doing. Couldn't keep the Raiders in Oakland. I think that was a big thing for our franchise. I think that turned our franchise around.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's...
I'm sorry, but I think that's on the Oakland City Council. You know what I'm saying? Like, he tried and tried and tried and tried. And I think the Oakland mayor, the Oakland City Council, they just weren't trying to have it, just like they weren't trying to have the A's, right? The A's thought they were going to be able to stay behind and get their beachfront stadium, right? Or what, Bayfront Stadium. But surprise. So, I understand, Mark. I understand. Like, you can't make somebody do something they're not willing to do.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people say that it was a city council. I won't totally disagree with that. What I will say, though, to the credit, I don't know if I want to use credit, but the city council, they made it hard for the Raiders. But it was the fact that Mark Davis wanted to come in and get a new stadium having no money. So it affected the A's, because it really was going to be like a package deal where you kind of build an A's a stadium and the Raiders a stadium next to each other, similar like how it was. But then after the Raider thing fell through, then the city tried to hold on to the A's, but then there's not much money in that. And then the city council was trash. They didn't ever really prioritize keeping those teams in the Bay in Oakland. And so I think it kind of went both ways there. But there's enough blame to go around for both. So I don't disagree with you totally. But Mark Davis wanted to leave the Raiders. Well, he left the Raiders in debt. When Al Davis brought the Raiders back, and they built Mount Davis, and then they did the PSL, the personal seating licenses, which I was a holder of, and they were trying to generate all this money so we could get a stadium. And then when it came time to get a stadium, no one in the league wanted to really help the Raiders get a stadium to keep us in Oakland. And Mark just didn't have the money. He said he had like 500,000 or something he was worth. And we all had all kind of groups came in and tried to save the Raiders, but it couldn't be done. But I think that hurt the Raiders' legacy there. He couldn't help continue the legacy because I think Al Davis's idea was to turn the Oakland into a big market. I think that's why he went to LA, because he was going to a bigger market, similar to the Warriors did to San Francisco. But if the Raiders were able to get a new stadium, be competitive, win a Super Bowl, host the Super Bowl, and all those things, that would have helped Oakland become a big market. Then we would have been able to build a stadium for the Warriors and kept Oakland thriving. But opposite happened, and the legacy is dead there in Oakland.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, man. I mean, after 81, when they went to LA, right, in 82, I believe, right? They went in 82. After the 81 season, I believe. It might have been 81 after the 80 season, but I believe it was 82. It's heartbreaking, bro. And then all the years where we couldn't watch them on TV because they couldn't sell out, because it didn't sell out before Friday. You weren't going to be on TV.
Yeah, they blacked us out a lot.
Huh?
Yeah, they blacked out a lot of games.
Yeah, and even right now, even the last few years, the last couple of games of the season, our record was so horrible they didn't even want to show us on CBS, unless we were playing, a Kansas City or a team that was going into the playoffs or something. But other than that, if it was just a regular old divisional game or whatever, we didn't go. It's been 2 or 3 years since we watched the final game on TV over here. That we didn't. It's been blacked out. They want to show some other garbage. They'd rather show bull riding or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? How is that bringing in more views than football? But when you're losing, nobody wants to watch, dude, and it's not entertaining. People aren't entertained with losing, and I get it. I'm not entertained by it either. But at some point or another, Mark made the decision, and I'm not saying it was the right decision, but we had to go. Like, like you said, the Warriors left, right? The A's are leaving, right? It's not a safe place to be at either. People, a lot of people don't want to go to Oakland. There's a lot of turmoil and a lot of reputation that goes on over there, and people are, a little sketchy of going over there, and so Mark Davis had to do what he had to do. The NFL got on board. What up, Charm City? Had to get on board and move to Las Vegas. Ronnie Lott put a plan together, but they weren't interested. Like you said, other people, tried to save us. But when the city and the mayor and nobody wants us there, we got to pack up our stuff and go. Now, we got, Mark Davis is, became a billionaire out of this, right? The Raiders are now worth like $6 billion. Before that, they were worth, 500 million or something. They weren't worth anything. And Al Davis was always the brokest NFL owner in the league. He's everybody else are billionaires. Al Davis was a millionaire. And so, I think that he made the right decision. It's just hard to even get the fan base to go out to Las Vegas when you're losing, bro. Like winning's going to cure everything. If Kubiak comes in here and we start winning, we're going to start filling up the Death Star. It's going to start being blacked out. We're not going to be all these teams aren't going to be able to come in here and push us out and be louder for their team than our team. But first step of all of that is winning. Getting to in order to do all of that, we got to win some games, right? Get back to the playoffs. Make a little playoff run here or there, and that'll get it.
Yeah, we just need to win, baby.
Yep, just got to win. Winning fixes everything. Everybody knows that.
Well, we're going to talk about if it was a good thing or not. I'm leaning towards like 65-35 that the Raiders essentially sold. Well, Mark Davis essentially sold the Raiders to Las Vegas and the NFL. Because we couldn't get a stadium. I think the NFL boxed us out because we didn't have a bunch of people trying to help us get a stadium. But we did have, like you said, Ronnie Lott and them. But, Mark Davis wasn't budging on that. And he just went where the money was. And so essentially, whoever was going to get us a stadium was going to win. So what did we do? We go get the Death Star. That's what we're calling it. I call it Airbnb Stadium because it ain't even our stadium. It's just the color of the Raiders. Like, it's owned by Las Vegas. I think eventually the Raiders are going to end up in Mexico. For real.
But
I think they're going to end up in Mexico and be the first international team, so to speak. So basically, when the Raiders left, it was a legacy killer. It killed the black hole. It killed the tailgating, and it killed the home team advantage that we had going into the game. And not only that, even when we did not win games, it was still an experience. It was still entertaining,
right,
of sorts. So I think that's been sucked dry out of us. Pause. But hey, that's the bad when it comes to Mr. Mark Davis. But the good business decision, and thanks for hacking into Business Decisions in Sports. Make sure you go and hit that like button. Go and make that great business decision and hit the red, you feel me, in the corner, the subscribe button. And so what he did was, now, like you said, the Raiders are worth billions. And if he was to sell the team, he's going to be a billionaire.
Right. But check it out. We did get one guy, the most important guy in the NFL, to help us land this thing in Las Vegas. His name is Jerry Jones. I'm not a big fan of him, but he was on board with helping us, get this deal done. And he likes getting these stadiums because he sells all the seats, whether it's baseball seats or it's football seats. He sells the seats to the stadiums. He owns the seats making stuff. I didn't know if you all knew that or not, but that's another one of his businesses. Is he makes the seats that go in the stadiums. So he was on board, and he's a very powerful character in the NFL. I know he's a grungy, old-looking, dirty bastard, but he's got a lot of power. He's got a lot of pull. He's been there a long time, and he got a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely. He definitely helped a lot of these teams get new stadiums, and I think he could have helped the Raiders get a new stadium if he lobbied for us to stay in Oakland, but I think he lobbied for us to go to Las Vegas to help the league infiltrate the Raiders, because the Raiders have definitely not been on the favorite list of the NFL for the longest time, and I think they were just waiting Al Davis out. They have Mark Davis, who don't have a clue about football operations, and they were just going to eventually snatch the rug from under him.
But Jerry and Al were real tight, bro. They were really tight. They got along with each other. They liked each other. That's one of the real owners that Al Davis really liked was that guy, Jerry Jones. He likes that guy. They got along. We did a lot of wheels and dealings with them. We did a lot of trades with them. They did a lot of communication. But like you said, the NFL is a billionaire snake pit, bro. And when they smell blood, you know, they're gonna try and do their little manipulation to get what they want.
Well, one good thing I will say Mark did was he started giving up control of the team.
Yeah.
He brought in Tom Brady to become a minority owner, to bring in a football mind, because it's evident to the nation that he was just there. You know, essentially he was like blessed with this franchise and didn't know what to do with it, and he was just keeping it afloat. Now, bringing in Tom Brady, there's a couple school of thoughts about bringing in Tom Brady, which we're going to talk about here next. But I think that was a good thing that he was able to kind of get out of his own way right there and bring in someone that could make great football decisions.
I agree. I don't personally like the whole Tom Brady decision making, but that's who I think the NFL presented to him, right? And I think, you know, and Mark Davis has always been swinging from Tom Brady's nuts. And, you know, that's, and I don't really, you know, the only negative I have to say about Tom Brady, and it ain't even his fault. He didn't make the call. You know, even if he stood up there and said, yeah, it was a fumble, the referees wouldn't have cared anyways. You know what I'm saying? So I don't put the Brady fumble on Brady. Okay. I put that on the NFL. Just like I don't put the immaculate deception on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I put it on the NFL and the referees. They know what they were doing. They made the call. Their call is what matters. So other than that, I don't have a problem with Brady being here, bro. You know, he's a smart guy, and he's being real strategic. He knew who he wanted to get last year. We went after him. It wasn't successful. He knew who he wanted to get this year. He went after him, and this year he was successful. So, you know, is he a plant for the NFL? Possibly, but you know, at the end of the day, Mark Davis just doesn't have. You know, he tried. He did it, but he did the best that he could, right? He brought in Jack Del Rio, and as soon as John Gruden was like, "I'm in, I'm coming back," what did he do? He fired him. He brought back in the guy that he knew the best to run this team, right? Which was John Gruden. The only time we had any succession with this team before, we had a little success with Del Rio, right, in 2016, but the real success was with John Gruden, bro, from 99 until 2002, 2001, right? So he wanted to bring that back, right? He wanted to bring that culture back, that winning culture, and he was right in thinking that he could do so because there's really no one else out there, and that's all he knew. To be honest, that's all Mark Davis knows is John Gruden era, that was successful. So of course he wants to revert back because he wants us to be successful. He wants to win. But unfortunately, that didn't work out for us. And then he went on and tried to turn us into the Patriot Raiders with Josh McDaniels and bringing all of that stuff over here, and that backfired. And then AP, like we just talked about, he tried to do the best he can, but he wasn't able to get his quarterback. He got some left over. Jimmy Garoppolo shit. Some Jimmy G shit, and it just didn't work out for him, Maybe it was too big of a plate for him to eat right now. He didn't have enough experience. But he did a hell of a job, and during his interim coach, he came through, won some games for us, came in his first year. I think if we would have got him a little bit more like he wanted, I think we got rid of Josh Jacobs, right? And, that's his number one guy. He loved that guy for his running back. We're getting rid of it. We're getting rid of all the good players that he liked, So I don't really blame him for his non-succession. Like we said, it's the front office. The front office is making dumb decisions. And so he just had to live with it. And then we bring in Pete Carroll to try to, bring in a new culture and tighten that up, or bring in a winning culture. But I knew as soon as he said I won 10 games for the last decade or whatever, I already knew we were in for that wasn't going to happen. Any Raider fan knew that wasn't going to happen, bro. Right? He's in delusional land for that. But he tried. He reverted back to a coach that won a Super Bowl, went to another one back to back, lost on a dumb decision, should have ran the ball. We all know that, right? So it's not that he wasn't trying, because he tried and he tried and he tried, but he just wasn't able to get over that hump. And he was asking advice from, certain people. Like, when the Del Rio thing came about, he was asking Madden and he was asking other players about, who he should hire, because he obviously realized he didn't have the knowledge that he needed. Right. So he's going around asking people that did have the knowledge, what do you think about the hire? Right. But that's where you bring in, you got to hire people to do that, bro. Like, you got to hire people to be your talent advisor, who's evaluating the talent coming out of college. Who are you going to evaluate? Who's evaluating the draft talent, right? You can't just, we haven't hit on any of that in a long time, except for the last 2 years. We got Genty and we got Bowers. Other than that, it's just been a shit show.
Yeah, and Charm City, and what up to Jack? What up, Raider Nation? He said, didn't Richard Seymour buy in too? Yes, he's a minority owner, and it brings me to Mark Davis saying that he has a succession plan if he's going to sell the team. And some people took that to say, well, is he getting ready to sell the team? Things like that. From what I understand is the NFL requires you to have a succession plan in the event something happened to you. Being that he has no kids, right. You don't have a wife, so he had to appoint someone.
Richard Seymour is my favorite acquisition, actually, because he punched Roethlisberger right in the mouth. Remember that? Yeah, I love that shit. That's what I'm talking about. That's the Raider attitude we need around here. We got to have that shit.
Saludos. What's up to you,
Mr. Raider
Ben?
How you doing, brother?
Yo. So that's the crux of it with Mark Davis, the good and the bad. At least he's moving in the right direction. And like you were saying, we brought in Tom Brady. Is he a plant? Is he not a plant? That's a waste that remains to be seen.
Well, even if he is, right, as long as he's a plant that gets this team winning, gets the rotor right on our fucking pirate ship, bro. I'm tired of being stuck in the bay and getting scuttled every fucking year. I want to go out and raid, bro. It's time for us to go raid and get some championships, bro. We can't go out and raid if we're stuck in the pond, bro. We got to get out into the ocean and go raid.
We got to go pillage.
Yeah.
Just for fun. Now, one of the good things I will say Brady has done is he brought stability. Mm-hmm. He brings stability to the team left voided by past coaches. Because we had all these coaches and all these regimes, no stability. So he at least brings stability in there into the front office. He's able to look at where we lacking at. He has the resume of what it looks like to win. He knows whether he's a player or not. We know that he knows what a winning franchise look like. So we can't lean on him there. He also brought in Kubiak. He tried to find the right coach, even with AP. He tried to find the right coach. He one thing I do like about him is he's trying to fix the Raiders. And it was crazy because when we were doing the show last year, Richard Sherman made a comment about AP, and I watched it again, and it rang true. And check this out, and tell me how you feel about it.
They set him up for failure. And if you fire him, it's such BS because you didn't give him a good enough team to do anything more than what they're doing. They had Devontae for a little while. They traded him away. You let Josh Jacobs go. And so you knew that this wasn't going to be an attractive job last offseason. So did you just give it to Antonio Pierce so that he could bite the bullet this season just to fire him until it was a more attractive position when you have a high draft pick? You set the man up for failure, expected him to fail, fired him for failing with no chance. And if they do that, I'd be so pissed off because that's total BS.
And that's essentially exactly what happened.
I agree. What up, Dirty? How you doing?
What's up, Dirty?
That's
and so,
the Born Raider podcast. That's dirty shit.
And so he brought in Kubiak, though. We swung and missed with AP, and we turned right around, and we did what we had to do. And we, like you said, we got the biggest off-season coaching acquisition there is, which was beautiful, you know. So that was good for Tom Brady to do that. And also, what was it? Tom Brady made the decision to get rid of Chip Kelly last year. I didn't think he was going to pull the trigger. I was telling people before the day we signed him, Chip Kelly was bad news. He made Pete Carroll whole regime look bad, in my opinion. He made the Raiders franchise look terrible, but we got the number one pick out of it. But I'm just saying, Tom Brady, I'm sure he had his hand in that. We pulled the trigger. That's something we might not have done with Mark Davis just being the owner. So I'm happy about that. Tom Brady also brought in Spytek, right?
Yep, good friends, right? He's good friends with him in high. Oh, I don't know about good friends with him in high school or college, but they hung out with each other a little bit, and then they went and worked over with each other over there in Tampa Bay, correct? And so they knew each other. So, you know, gave them an opportunity, right? That's how you get opportunities. It's how you know people. You know people. If you don't know anybody, you ain't going to get no opportunity from anybody, especially in the NFL. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of these people that are coaching and stuff are names from their fathers. They're hand-me-downs, bro. You know, that's what, you know, even some of the players, some of the players are from their fathers are in this shit, you know, most of them. So it's a who you know business in this shit, bro, for real. And if you don't know nobody, it's hard to get in.
Yeah, my dad used to say, it's not who you know, but who knows you.
Right? Or it's not what you know, it's who you know. That one's another one.
Well, yeah, that's the old school one. And it's like, it's not necessarily who you know, it's who knows you. Because a lot of people say, I know him. Like, you're going to, and like you said, a lot of this is built on relationships. A lot of these, especially like what the Raiders are doing, all these have ties with a lot of these acquisitions have ties to each other. And I want to credit Mark Davis for stepping out the way and allowing Tom Brady to collaborate with Spytek and let the GM do what he's supposed to do. Right? So shout out to him for that. But the elephant in the room, like we were talking about, didn't we just hate Tom Brady though? We used to hate Tom Brady, right? I mean, like, he was like public enemy number one. I get it. He wasn't the cause of the fumble. I would have said the same thing too, you know, in that situation. I get it. But we hated all things Tom Brady. We didn't like the Patriots. We even brought in their regime. I knew that from the beginning that was the worst idea ever. We did that, went through the McDaniels thing. And somehow Tom Brady stayed there, and I think the league offered him to us to infiltrate us. Now, even if we win a Super Bowl, we'll be happy as fans, but what does that do to the nation within itself? So do you think I'm just making much ado out of it? Is that just a thing in the past now? We're so starved for winning that it doesn't matter. We just need to just win. And is that where we are right now?
Well, I think, you know, like I said, I think the whole Tom Brady thing, the hatred for Tom Brady, was a Brady fumble, bro. You know, that's and him being like, and all these guys. I don't care if he came over in here and said, "Oh yeah, it was a fumble." I don't care about all of that. I already knew it was a fumble. I don't need him to admit it. I got eyes, bro. Right? I didn't, you know, I didn't hate Tom Brady other than that situation right there. You know, it's, you know, it is what it is. Of course we hate him. We hate anybody who ain't a Raider, right? But when we get, but he's bringing opportunities, right? So when he has an opportunity, obviously Mark Davis has always liked him. We wanted to bring him over here, right? But John Gruden didn't want it. But I guarantee you, Mark Davis did want it because Mark Davis knew he's a winner. Mark Davis is trying to bring winners in here so we can win. You know, you can't bring losers in here and think you're going to win. We've already done that. We tried to bring winners in here and they still haven't gotten it done. So why not just step out of the way and write the checks, bro? You don't know anything about football. Don't pretend that you do. Just be the owner, write the checks, and let the GM and the guy that's running football operations cook.
Yeah, facts. I just feel like this situation is a little Trojan horses.
It could
It's like a
be, but
Trojan horse.
there's nothing we can do, man. He's already sold him. He's already sold him the minority shares, right? He's already sold him the 10% or what. There's nothing we could do. He's already inside. If winning
Facts.
means that if winning means that much to Mark, then it means that much to me too.
Okay. Okay. I can go with that. So
Sometimes you gotta make a deal with the devil to get what you want, bro.
yeah, but is it worth at the price of selling the soul of the team?
It might be. We're gonna win some Super Bowls. You want to win some Super Bowls, or do you want to just be the regular? You just want to be rolling around like we are right now, starving for fucking talent, starving for attention, starving for wins. Like our franchise is one of the greatest franchises in the whole NFL, bro. And we're with our losing streak, we're down in the bottom of the barrel with the likes of the Browns and the likes of the Lions, bro. Our losing numbers are with them for the last 30, 40 years, bro. Like you could look it up. It's ridiculous. So of course he's like, yeah, we've had enough. We got to get this. There's no other franchise as prestigious to me in the NFL as this. There's the Packers, there's the Steelers, there's the Raiders. Those are it. Those are the pinnacles of
the Cowboys. Yeah, the Cowboys.
Yeah, and the Cowboys. But those are the pinnacles. Those are the four posts of the NFL, bro. You can put it any number you want. Right? You can put them in any order you want. I should have said the Raiders, the Packers, the Cowboys, and the Steelers. But to me, it doesn't matter. Those are the four pillars, and those are the what do you call that? What is that? What are the four presidents that are on? I forget what they call that. The Mount Rushmore. Those are the Mount Rushmore teams of the NFL, bro.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
And so we haven't been on that Mount Rushmore in 40 years, bro. It's time. And he's desperate. And desperate times comes with desperate measures. You got to do what you got to do.
Okay. Well, TB12, you here now, and I see you wearing Raider stuff, so I guess you're putting your money where your mouth is, and you're gonna turn us around. And I think if he does turn us around, it will, like, I guess I could look at it as that's his way of paying us back, you know. So I guess I don't have to be so hard on TB12, but I got my good eye on you, bro. But one thing I will say you've done right, you brought in the Spy Hunter. How many people remember Spy Hunter? I know I'm showing my age with that one, but do you remember Spy Hunter?
Of course, I know Spy Hunter. You're in the car, going in and out of the truck, arming up your oil or your smoke screen.
Yeah, the oil slick, all that, right?
Missiles.
And John and Spy Tech. He's been a general manager just since January 2025. and he spearheaded a significant overhaul to the Raiders' leadership and roster. First thing he really did, he came in, he rebuilt the roster. He initiated massive turnaround to our roster and aggressively targeted free agents in the 2026 offseason to eliminate major needs that is needed on our team. So what did we do? We get Lindenbaum. Look like we about to draft Mendoza. We got Quay Walker, Kobe Dean, re-signed Stokes, got Kuntz. Well, we got Pay. So the things that we said we needed help in, because we had a lot of holes in our boat. We had a lot of holes in our boat. And I think we started fixing them a little bit. And now we only have like one or two big holes. Or not one, let's say a couple to a few big holes. And we're coming in and we're aggressively handling that. We needed help at the linebacking core. We look like we definitely need a franchise quarterback. So it looked like we're doing everything. He looked like he's doing everything to set this up for him to succeed. Just like we said we haven't been doing. We haven't went to the draft. We haven't built a team around a franchise quarterback. It looked like we're doing that.
Absolutely, man. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what everyone else is doing. How come we haven't been on? I mean, I understand we got bit. We got bit really bad in 2007 with Jamarcus Russell. Ended up walking away with $40 million guaranteed. But that's the whole reason why these guys aren't making no money on the rookie deals anymore. He burnt that whole shit up. Before that, everyone was getting guaranteed $60 million signing. Guaranteed $40 million, and if if he would have stepped up and do what he needed to do, he would have pulled $60 million. I mean, that's a huge contract, bro, for a first year guy.
For sure, it is. Right.
And they're like, the NFL's like, we can't have that no more. We can't do that. We can't. And I don't blame them, But that's the recipe. You got to draft your young guys, and you got to keep them on there for 5 years, and hopefully they work out. Because otherwise, every time when you bring in one of these older guys, they're taking up hell of the cap space, bro. Hell of it. And then there's no room to get any of the other pieces. Hence Joe Burrow. You're on mute.
Yeah. What's up, Dirty? You gang. Come on now.
What it do?
What's up to you, Dennis? What's up, gang?
What's cracking?
No, you're right. You're right. And even with all of those he's filling the roster. We haven't seen what we're doing in the draft. He did pretty decent in the draft because we went out there on the edge and we went and got Genty. There was a lot of questions about getting a quarterback that high. He pulled the trigger. We already pretty much said we're going to go after Mendoza. We didn't have a backup plan. Boom. He performed salary cap gymnastics, $11 million, and we got a quarterback of the caliber of Kirk Cousins. Now, I will say, Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback than Geno Smith. Kirk Cousins is even a better quarterback, arguably, than Derek Carr. And I love Derek Carr, but I think he might, especially in this system, playing with Kubiak and having the experience that he has, I think he's a better fit than even Derek Carr. So he pulled that rabbit out of his hat. Now we in a win-win situation where if Kirk Cousins comes in with that chip on his shoulder and we win games, cool. If he doesn't, he comes in and just be the consummate pro that he is, and he's going to come in and let Mendoza mirror him because he's kind of like a player comp of his. I'm talking about just approach of the game, being cerebral, his faith, his leadership, how he approaches the game, all that stuff. So Spike Tech pulled that rabbit out of his hat, and we got him for next to nothing. Or what? Essentially $3 million more than we would have to pay Geno Smith. So I think that was a beautiful thing that was done by Spike Tech.
No, he's making all the right decisions, bro, right now. There's no doubt about it. He's making all the right decisions. So I'm happy with that for sure. With his performance so far. But your boy's got to cut out right now, bro. I'm sorry. But
No, that's all good, brother. This is the last thing I'm gonna just talk about the
okay, well, let's go ahead.
Okay. Well, and so the last thing I was really happy about is the coaching changes that Spytek has made. He went out, swung big, tried to change the culture with Pete Carroll. I think it was a good idea. We just didn't put the staff together, Chip Kelly, to help him succeed. And then even after that failure, he went out and got Kubiak. Like, everybody was all in about Ben Johnson, felt bad about it, typical Raider stuff. Coaches use us to leverage against other teams, but this time Spytek delivered. The Spy Hunter delivered. So we got Kubiak as a head coach to handle our offense and our defensive schemes, and he's coming in and he's making a lot of changes, and I'm very excited about that. And so far, I'm giving Spytek A minus or a solid A so far. I mean, I'm sure we got to see a couple of the players that they drafted pan out. Like even last year, a lot of players we didn't get to see, but they might pan out this year in this system. So kudos to Spytek to going out and getting us a coach, changing this culture, because I think this is the shift that we need.
Well, we didn't get to see that much of these wide receivers, right? Jefferson kind of shit the bed, and then we brought over Lockett, right? And then he started taking all the snaps. Same thing with Beck. He didn't get that many snaps last year. And neither did the offensive lineman that we drafted in the 3rd or 4th round. We got to see one later in the season because of injuries, right? And he looked okay, but you know, these guys had their mindset on what they had their mindset on, bro, and they weren't gonna pull off of it. You know, that's the problem. They left Meredith at center the whole year. That's a bad idea. And then when he couldn't go, they put in Kappa. Why'd you put Kappa in the center, bro? Like, what are you doing? He's a guard. I just don't, you know, they're just bad. He made bad decisions, bro, and that's why he had to go. Those are all bad decisions. You know, he didn't put his foot down with the son when he should have fired his offensive line coach. That guy should have been gone a long time ago. He was horrible. You know, I don't know what kind of arguments they were having with JPJ or whatever was going on with that guy and whatever was going on with the rest of the coaching staff. But there's some kind of turmoil going on over there, and we're not going to ever know about it until someone really comes out and speaks on it, you know. But, you know, just leaving those bad coaching decisions, all those bad decisions ended up to be a losing season for us. A very bad losing season.
A very bad losing season. Yeah. Well, kudos so far to the head office so far. Like I said, championships are won from the top down, not the player up. And if you look at the teams that win Super Bowls, especially if they win multiple Super Bowls, it's because their franchise is already solid and all they have to do is plug and play. They don't have to rebuild, they just reload. And right now, the top is looking good. So tomorrow, I think tomorrow we're going to talk about the hiring of Clint Kubiak. And we're going to talk about his coaching staff. You know, and we're going to talk about the quarterbacks. And then after that, the following day after that, later on this week, we're going to talk about the offense players and the defensive players, and we're going to sprinkle in the special teams too. So make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. And let's get to it because, I mean, it's the off season. It's starting to warm up. Like OTA is about to start, the draft, all that. So let's get real excited. I'm excited for my boy Pizzle for popping up with your boy. Appreciate it. I know you got to go. I appreciate your time. I want to thank everybody that was in the chat. Thanks for Raider Ben.
18 days till the draft, boys. 18 more days till the draft.
Yeah, the team is already almost built. It's getting there. We do need to get D-tackle depth. And when we're going to talk about
Lee Hunter. Whoa.
We're gonna talk about our projected starters when we talk about the offense and the defense, and especially our defense, and why they went to a 3-4, and why I think it might be a beautiful thing that we are doing that. So I want to thank We the People. I want to thank Dirty, Dennis, Charm City for sure. Ben again, Jack, and all those. So make sure y'all hit that subscribe button, man. We up out of here. We the Raiders, man. We back. We back. We gonna win the Super Bowl. We keep this up.
I'm a Raider though.
I'm a Raider though.